on the GSMC Baseball Podcast, bringing you our fourth segment, which is going to be talking about an interesting situation that did happen yesterday and just was talked about, so I wanted to get into it. So a Rays beat writer was doing a story on Aaron Judge and talked about, I don't believe that what was known information before, if it was, I hadn't heard of it, that the Rays actually were in the bidding involving Aaron Judge and his free agency. And not only were they in the bidding, they offered him a pretty sizable contract. They offered him, apparently, according to this writer, who apparently I've checked with some people I know who like the Rays, and she's apparently very reliable, that the Rays offered Aaron Judge $300 million over 10 years. And Judge in the article kind of confirms this as well, saying the offer they gave me was with a lot of respect, and I appreciate them for doing that, appreciating my caliber of player, all that kind of stuff. And the Rays offering someone $300 million, $30 million per year is crazy. I mean, now this is not coming to me as a total shocker that the Rays are involved in a high-profile free agent. They apparently made a huge one-year offer to Bryce Harper a few years back. They were apparently a little bit involved in the bidding of Jacob deGrom this year, last year, not to a full extent, obviously, as they didn't sign him, but there was obviously something there. deGrom is from Florida, so the Rays offering Judge this amount of money is kind of crazy. I mean, obviously he signed for 36 over 10, 360, not 36, 36 AAV over 10 with the Yankees. So the offer didn't come close. It was $60 million short, $6 million per year short. But at the same time, this is a pretty significant offer. I mean, you're looking first of all at, of course, Judge in his final days in free agency was down to two teams. The Yankees and his hometown Giants. Those two teams. Those are the two teams we knew that he was going to go to really from the start. We at one point thought he was going to the Giants. Arston Judge, John Heyman, all that. We at one point thought he was going back to the Yankees, back to the Giants. It was a lot of things, a lot of conflicting information because I don't really think we were used to seeing a free agent take as much time as Judge did and kind of be as private as he was. The really only thing that he did was leak that he had a free agency meeting with the Giants. I mean, John Morosi was following him around, I believe, in San Francisco, and it was very obvious that it was leaked, and he didn't just follow him on the street. He didn't just find him on the street. So that was really the only thing that happened. He wasn't really trying to actively get leverage or anything. So it's a very quiet free agency, and I think because of that, a lot of reporters are trying to get the first scoop, trying to establish themselves and try to kind of make up stuff to get things going, and obviously it didn't work out. So with this offer now, it is interesting to think about because the Yankees and the Giants, they also have one thing in common. They're big markets, and the Rays are not. Tampa Bay is not a big market for baseball. And the thing that's interesting is we have to look at something else, which is big in baseball, big in a lot of sports. People don't talk about a lot when it's involving free agency contracts, state income tax. I don't know what the state income tax is in New York, as thankfully I don't pay significant bills yet. I'm only 18. But I know it's a lot living in New York my entire life, and I know it's a lot in California as well, especially the Bay Area. Florida, I know there's none. So as much as $300 million over 10 is a significant amount of money, and as much as it is though, obviously it's less than what the Giants and the Yankees offered him. If you're putting in the state income tax, it's really not that big of a differential. And Judge gets to keep the entirety of that 300. I'm not sure how much he gets to keep at that 360. Of course, he doesn't get to keep all of the 300, as I'm sure he has to give a good amount of it to his agent. So there's that. But looking at the state income tax part of it, it's a pretty good offer for this Rays team. And I think Judge would have considered it. He said that he didn't because he couldn't have imagined himself going to a direct rival of the Yankees. Which I get that, but again, money's money, but also when the Yankees are offering you more, and looking at the baseball side of it, I mean, it's not bad. I mean, you got to, at that point, there were a lot of star players in that team. You would have been able to team up with Isaac Paredes, Randy Arozarena, at the time, Wander Franco, who of course was a superstar, one of the best shortstops in baseball. Obviously, I'm sure Judge is very glad that he didn't go to the Rays because I'm sure a big part of that would have been with Wander Franco. And Franco now has allegedly done some bad things and maybe is going to jail for a long, long time. So we'll have to see about that. He got a new charge added to his rap sheet, I believe. But again, all alleged. We have to let court play out for that one. But obviously that situation's rough, so I'm sure he's glad he didn't go to the Rays because of that. But the Rays, it wasn't really that bad of a situation. I mean, you had a lot of star players on there. You had Randy, you had Paredes, you had Franco at the time. You had some good players in the starting rotation as well. And if they were able to spend money on Judge, I'm sure they would have spent money as well. So the fact that the Rays did offer this is very interesting, and I think it begs the question to ask, will the Rays spend more money in the future? They obviously signed the biggest contract in franchise history, signing hometown boy Zach Eflin to a 3-year deal with $40 million. I'm pretty sure they're going to trade Zach Eflin at this deadline, so that deal is kind of moot, and it's not really going to be a big factor in their future plans. But they were in on Judge, they were in on Harper, they were in at some degree on DeGrom, I believe. They signed Zach Eflin. It's going to be interesting to see if the Rays spend money for the future, and what is going to happen with that if their ownership finally decides, I want to invest in this team, I want to care about my team, because the Steinbergs have not done that. And yeah, just going to be interesting to see what the Rays do. And I think this team needs a lot of help. You have a lot of stars here. You have a lot of good players like Paredes, like Arozarena, who are both here as well. You have some good players in the rotation like Zach Littell, Eflin for now. Ryan Pepio is really good. Shane McClanahan, Jeffrey Springs, Drew Rasmussen. So there's a lot of good players, but you do need some help. And, I've also forgotten about Yandy Diaz, who's also a great player on this Rays team, but, that's another situation. But there's a lot of young talent here as well. Junior Camarino's coming up. You, of course, have Brandon Lau in the infield as well. But it's going to be interesting now to see if the Rays do spend a lot more money in the future and they be able to be a genuine player in this free agent market. And the way that the Rays are able to get players out of nowhere and make them stars, develop players, develop talent, develop older players to make them really good, the way they're able to do that now, you combine that with spending money, they're going to be a dangerous, dangerous organization. And it'll be very interesting to see that, what this team looks like if they do end up spending money, and overall what decision they do make. Now, I just want to say, just floating this out there, there's a superstar free agent on the market who is very marketable, is from Tampa Bay, on the market this year. Pete Alonso. You add Pete Alonso to the middle of a lineup of Isaac Paredes, Randy Arozarena, Junior Camarino, Brandon Lau, Yandy Diaz. That's pretty great. I don't know if he's going to resign with the Mets at this point. As a Mets fan who watches them every day, it kind of seems like both parties are kind of, over with each other. So signing the hometown boy, being able to market around him, I'm sure he'd love to go back home. He grew up a big Rays fan, apparently. His favorite player was Evan Longoria, if I remember correctly. So I think being able to do that would be a pretty fantastic move. It's something we have to think about now if the Rays are able to spend money. But again, I think the Rays being able to spend money now, giving these offers, would be a huge thing for the franchise, and I really think it would improve them a lot. And going back to the Tampa thing, there's a big-time free agent next offseason, because next offseason, who hasn't had great contracts talks with his AL team, is a genuine superstar, might be a top 30 player in the league, and that's Kyle Tucker. He's also from the Tampa area. If you're able to sign him, use the allure of no state income tax, going home, which you could also use with Pete Alonso, marketing around him, stealing him from your AR rival, I'm doing that. And I think these are questions we may have to consider now if the Rays are spending money. These are the things that we have to think about if the Rays, again, are spending money and are able to do these things. So it's very interesting to me to be able to think about what is going to happen with the Rays' future now and just what the team is going to look like. I am very, very intrigued at the prospect of them spending money at this Aaron Judge offer. And yeah, I'm just very interested to see if they do actually spend money in the future and just what the prospect of that looks like. So yeah, that is our fourth segment here, talking about Aaron Judge and the offer made by the Tampa Bay Rays in free agency and how interesting it was. Moving on to our fifth segment now, in fifth and final segment, we'll be talking about the weekly hitter power rankings for MLB, giving my thoughts on them and just talking about them in the rankings as well. So going over that, and we'll see you after the fourth and final break. So thanks and bye.